Oh, I am so honored and privileged to be a part of this summit. Thank you so much to all of you who have set this up. And I'm so excited to have all of you here listening in who are mentors and speakers and teachers and youth pastors, anyone who's mentoring anyone that are teenagers. I just applaud you for what you do, and I am here to support you. We're really excited to present some information to you guys tonight. My name is Coach Renee Lopez, and I have been honored and privileged of being a college coach for 14 years. I was also a high school head coach for 3 years. I've also worked in churches and been an athletic director at a church, and also coached and taught at the elementary and middle school levels as well. So I can fully appreciate all of what you guys do day in and day out. I am really excited to be here with you guys and really be able to share some ideas with you and some thoughts of ways to develop effective leaders, whether it's of developing yourself or developing other teenagers. We want to make sure that we invest in you guys and help you guys through the process. So like I mentioned, I was a college coach for 14 years. I'm also a speaker and trainer with the John Maxwell Team and the John Gordon Company. And I'm an author as well. I'll get into that in just a little bit. But our work's been featured on ESPN Radio, NBC, ABC, Sirius XM, and USA Weekly. Really excited to be able to share some information tonight in terms of leadership development. We want to be able to help you all through the process of developing leaders around you. But I first want you guys to take a little bit of an inventory of yourself. What are the biggest problems you or your teens face? I want you to really think about this. Is it social media? We all know the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to social media. Maybe it's for you personally, or maybe it's teens that you're seeing financially they're struggling. Maybe it's really bullying or people are putting labels on you. Maybe you don't have a good mentor to help you in the process and you're helping teenagers. Or maybe you're a teenager and you don't have mentors, right mentors in your life. You know, maybe you don't know how to take the next step in your career. Maybe it's the next step in choosing relationships or whatever it may be in your life. Maybe it's going back to college to get your master's degree, or maybe it's just taking a different career path. Maybe it's self-limiting beliefs that are out there and you're scared of what the future may hold, or your fear of failure, or sometimes even fear of success. Or maybe sometimes it's just people looking down at you at your age because, you know, maybe you're a young educator and you're just young in the field. Or maybe you've just been beat down a lot. So I want you to kind of take those ideas and want you to think about those as we move forward today. I want to ask your permission and to challenge you today. I'm going to have and challenge you to think outside the box. And also, I may ruffle a few feathers and I'm okay with that. I just want you to think outside the box. I want you to think about the answer to this question. Are you trying to keep everyone happy or change yourself to fit in? I want you to think about the other question here is, how do you respond to adversity? If you are in boiling water, are you like a carrot and you go all soft? Or if you're in boiling water, do you actually kind of become hard like an egg and a hard-boiled egg? I want you to think about all of these things as we kind of move forward today, because effective leaders know themselves. They know how they react, the good, the bad, and situations. And more importantly, they know their mission. They know their why. They know who they are and what they want to do and be able to help people. And, you know, John Maxwell talks about this and the idea of the law of the rubber band, that growth stops when you lose attention between where you are and where you actually can be. And this may apply to you or may apply to the teens that you're working with. So are you looking to expand in anything of your life, whether you run a business or expand your youth group, or maybe it's just be able to develop yourself? Maybe it's your walk with the relationship with Christ. Maybe it's something in terms of leadership development. But the key part is stretching requires change. And it really gives you a chance to be significant and make an impact. So let's think about this. Many of us get stuck. This is a zip tie. You all know what this is. You've seen it before. If you put them in and you pull, you'll get to a point where there is no farther you can go. Versus, are you being a rubber band where you can stretch yourself and grow because stretching requires change. If you're going to be a person who's stretching and having a growth mindset, you've got to be able to change and adapt and adjust. So I want you to think about this on a bigger scale, though, and the idea of being significant and making an impact. Effective leaders are always connectors. They're not just climbers. They're not just worried about their own self-image or seeking power or the next job they're going to find, the next role or opportunity they're going to have. They are not just thinking about themselves and building up their image. They're actually thinking of, how can I help people? And I think if you're an educator, someone who works with leaders or in youth, pastor, you're going to be in a situation of thinking beyond the box in the idea of building relationships. And, there's tons of studies that are out there that those who are very effective leaders have a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 positive interactions with 1 negative interaction. And are you focusing on that? Are you looking to seek partnerships? Are you bringing people into the opportunities that you may have to be able to reach kids and be able to help serve them and build consensus with a group of leaders? Versus, is it just about you and what you can do? And I want to challenge you today. There's some area in your life that you may not be connecting with people. You're just trying to climb. And I want to challenge you today to really think a little bit differently, to think horizontally instead of just thinking vertically. The magnificent Tammy Matheny, mental game coach, worked with my college teams for years, talks to the idea in her book called The Confident Athlete, called Talk the Talk. And she is always a positive influence in talking about the idea that every time you really interact or speak or are in interacting with anyone in any way, whether it's on social media or in person, you're either increasing or decreasing confidence. And many people haven't really thought that way of thinking, oh, how I speak actually impacts how the rest of the world sees me. So I want you to think about how you're speaking to yourself. First and foremost, are you always focusing on the problem or are you solution focused? Are you always a complainer or your mind is really negative? Or are you thinking a little bit different and saying, you know what, I can make a change in this situation? So John Maxwell speaks about this in his book called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. And that most people think it's sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And the fact of the matter is, we have to make a shift in our mindset. Is sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Effective leaders have that mindset, as well as the idea of, I haven't achieved something yet. Now, I want to encourage you, for those of you guys who haven't picked up a copy of it, John Maxwell actually has a book that's the exact same book, but geared towards teens. So highly recommend that, by John Maxwell. The blue cover is the teens one. The red cover is for adults. But I want you to really think about this, is how are you speaking to yourself? How are your teens around you being allowed to speak? Are they really speaking negative? Are they just complaining all the time? Are you helping them to change their mindset and the words they're speaking and put an opportunity in there of a growth mindset, just like we talked about the rubber band and the zip tie, but also the idea of utilizing a word called yet. I haven't achieved that yet. I haven't overcome that problem yet. And if you change that mindset, it absolutely 100% changes how conversations go and how effective you can be in making an impact with your teens. So I want you to think about this. Consider this. The Stone Age did not end because some people ran out of rocks and stones. It was really that they had to evolve and adjust. An effective leader is always innovative, solution focused, and they're really striving for daily improvement. But improvement is not satisfied with the quick fixes. Unfortunately, we want to snap our fingers, and that's the society we live in, a microwave society. We want quick answers. The fact is, improvement is really a series of small steps. But more importantly, it really requires us moving out of our comfort zone, but still staying in our strength zone. I'm going to explain that in just a second. There's something you need to do in order to push yourself to the next level and getting out of your comfort zone, but it still may be in your career and where you really are strong suited. So let's think through things. Decide first and foremost that you are worth improving. I want you to pick right now an area that you want to improve. Don't try and do it all. I want you to just pick one today. I want you to think about something that you can do in order to think outside the box, out of your comfort zone, but also still in your strength zone. So I want you to think about this in the idea of, John Maxwell says, to influence others, I have to plan to grow. So over the years, I was a college coach for 14 years. I was a D1, D2, and NAI head coach, and also been an NCAA compliance director. And over the years, because I had this background, people kept telling me I should write a book on the recruiting process. And I pondered and I kept saying, could I really do that? Well, I know the content, but I've never written a book before. So what does that really mean? And I thought about it, that positive leaders really plan to grow. And I really just need to think through the process of what I could do. I needed to brainstorm ideas, planning it. I needed to really learn about the process because I had no clue what it looked like to write a book. I could describe the content. And I also had no idea about layout and publishers and what that looked like. So I had to do some research. I also needed accountability to write and get that book done because it's not easy to do, even though you think it's going to be much quicker than what it could be. I really also needed a mentor in the process. So I met with people and I thought through it with them. So for me, the idea was I was going to write a book on the college recruiting process. I've been doing presentations for years, and I really was in a situation where I was like, oh, I can just turn this into a book. Not quite that simple, but the idea was trying to think through social media campaigns and marketing and how do you sell a book as well once you've done it. So I really started to create a growth plan and a long-term plan of how to do it. And so I kind of made some steps of what I was going to do this week and the next week and what I was going to do the next 30 days and what I was going to do in the next 60 days and 90 days. And then looking for accountability partners, found some people with some close friends of mine from my Bible study, as well as some colleagues that were in the business and some people that were also authors. And they really helped me to really think through the process of what I was going to do and give me accountability. So the reality is that a growth plan works if you have accountability, you have commitments to what you want to do, you have the right mindset, and we always hear about this in setting goals. If you write them down, you're going to be much more successful in it. So I'm proud to announce there is my book, and we've sold over 30,000 copies of it as well. It was a process. It almost took me 2.5 years to complete it. It was much longer than what I expected, but I had accountability. I had a commitment to doing it, and we had the right mindset. And the idea, I knew the content, meaning I was still in my strength zone, but I was also stepping out and into the unknown. It was a little bit different and out of my comfort zone. So I want to encourage you to think today of what is it that you need to do to step out of your plan. It may not be as big as writing a book, and that's okay. The idea could be is something in your strength zone, but not in your comfort zone. So stretch yourself. I want you to think right now, name one thing you want to do to leave a legacy and influence others. Start with what legacy you want to have in making a difference in this world. So think about what that may be. For some of you, it may be helping your organization how to improve. So I want you to think about this. Maybe think about what's going to lead to the most positive cultural change, maybe in your school, in your organization, in a community group that you work in. Maybe it's about, maybe you're a coach. Maybe you're thinking about player development versus awards that need to be happening. Maybe it's about more parent education. Maybe you're an athletic director. Maybe it's staff professional development. How do you help people? Maybe it's a new service project in your church. Maybe it's your business giving back, maybe with helping with the hurricanes or a homeless shelter, things like that. Maybe it's leadership development program for teens. Maybe you're a coach or an athletic director. And you're like, oh, I need to learn how to do college recruiting educational programs, which is what I do now. Maybe it's mental training and confidence building, just like Jeff and Tammy do in terms of building people up and trying to get them to really see their true inner strengths. I want to challenge you to think about one area that you're going to make an improvement on and really write it down and think outside of your comfort zone. And here's where I want you to think that, you're going to take what you do and grow it. And then sometimes you're going to put even more fuel on that fire and it's going to explode. So I want to show you right here. And the arrow in purple is actually me. And underneath the arrow in yellow is actually my president of my publishing company. I went to this event that I was told I was just going to mingle with some potential authors and just get to know them. And I actually had an opportunity where my president of my publishing company said, I'd like you to come up front and I'd like you to speak on some of your process and what you went through. It was completely out of my comfort zone, but it was still in my strength zone because I got to speak on things that were really exciting for me in the process that I went through. And I spoke in front of 200 people about the process. And I was a person who never written a book before, but here's the president of my publishing company asking me to come and speak about the process that I learned because I chose to grow and I chose to take different steps. So I want you to think about this right now. People will summarize you in one sentence. What would that be? Pick it now. What's your legacy going to be? What is something that you can make an impact and a change right now before this next school year starts? What is it that you can make a change? Determine your legacy as a positive and confident leader today. How do you respond to adversity? Are you going to be that carrot? Are you going to be someone that just goes soft in the boiling water? Are you going to be that egg that becomes hardened? Or are you going to really challenge yourself to grow and try to make things better around your community? Are you going to become a coffee bean that then turns into Starbucks? I would love for you to think outside the box today, that even though it may not be in your comfort zone, find ways to grow yourself in your strength zone. John Maxwell, like I said, talks about it, and sometimes you win, sometimes you learn how you overcome adversity and how you can strengthen other people around you. I really enjoyed my time working with you all today. You want to reach out to me, you can find me at info@lookingforafullride.com. You can also find some free resources at rlopezcoaching.com. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us.